On today's episode of What Not to Do, we learn not to do what I do. So if you learn anything from this channel, maybe the big takeaway can be how not to do things. So just kind of see what I do and just don't do it. So I got it running last week, or I believe, and then I had a few things to finish up. I had to plumb the intercooler brick heat exchanger thing, insert pump and all that stuff. Had to wire the fans, the starter, just a few little things to finish up. Well, I guess the starter was on because it was cranking. So anyway, I got all that together, and if you saw the end of the last video about the 6.2 and the for the Cadillac, I was rambling on about the fuse box in these trucks. So come to find out, they're very problematic, and now in 2024 they're very hard to get because this is a 2006 and whatever. So can't find one anywhere. Sent my buddy what I thought was a GM website or something, or parts finder or whatever, but it turned out to be a scam, and they actually he had to get a new card and whatever, so sorry about that. But I don't know what happened, but all the lights were out on the Holly. The 3.5 screen was saying couldn't find the ECU, and I was freaking out. So, I had no idea what had happened since, putting the starter on. I put a new starter because the one that was on it was being problematic, and I thought it was just because his old engine was wore out and had so much crankshaft in play. It had 30 thousandths in play and somehow still managed to have good oil pressure. Had it been my engine, it would have had no oil pressure. So anyway, I don't know how the other engine lasted as long as it did, but it did, and I'm impressed by that. Oh, and I see our tensioner broke. Perfect. Nice. I finally found a belt that fit, by the way. And then I look, and this brand new tensioner broke. Wow. Okay. Something else to fix on it. So anyway, no lights on there. The circ pump was running. Put this bleed valve up here so I can get all the air out and run it and everything. And the starter wouldn't come on, wouldn't engage. I would use my power probe on the starter relay up here, and then it would turn over, and then I noticed that the 3.5 screen would turn off when I put power to that thing, to the starter relay, and it was just, I didn't know what was going on. So I was like, I've got to go back to what happened. Is the starter the problem? Somehow is it shorted out? I just, was trying to back up a couple steps and figure out what I had done wrong after I had it running, and then it didn't run anymore. So the starter was 11 tooth, and if you recall from my video with the that white truck, we tore up 2 11 tooth starters before I learned that a 9 tooth, is a viable option and works. So, I'm kind of slow. So I saw that the starter was still engaged, pulled the starter off, and went to Summit this morning, got a 9 tooth starter. Now it's working properly. It turns over. But before all that happened, I was up here messing around with it and looking at everything with the key on, checking my powers and everything at my fuses. And I was like, man, this circulation pump is driving me crazy. I pulled the fuse out of it, and all the lights and everything came back on the Holly, and everything started working. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So apparently when they say don't wire fans and pumps and stuff, I guess I had the ground to that. I don't know what that ground goes to, but I had it grounded there. And then I had the keyed power was coming out of one of the old wires from the fuse box. So apparently that electrical noise was enough to interfere with it where it wouldn't allow it to talk. So I fixed that. I updated the firmware on it, got all that dialed in, got the tune back in it, and then got the heat exchanger topped off with this air bleed, and then with the air bleed I put up here, topped off the radiator, made 17 trips to the parts store, and I can't believe that thing broke like that. That's insane. I hope that's not going to be another reason I don't like superchargers. I'm a turbo guy. So I hope that's not going to be an issue. That's insane. But anyway, so I get all that, get the 9.2 starter on, get in the truck, go to crank it, nothing. And I'm like, man, you've got to be kidding me. So I'm watching the voltage on the screen, you know, because the Hollies are funny if they get below 10 volts, hence the battery charger on it. And, you know, I've let the truck up in there again because there was some wires that went under. Because what happened is when I had the starter off, I had it laid up on the cross member, and I bumped it or something. Anyway, the starter fell, and that jerk reaction caused it to break a ground that went to the 3 grounds that go to the block. So when I had the truck in there and tracing, looking at all that, I looked, and sure enough, that ground was broken. It had broke the eyelet where it bolts to the block. So I fixed that, put a new eyelet on there. I was like, I know that's the problem. Truck fired right up. It is having a little trouble. It doesn't always pick up the crank signal and everything. But when it picks up the crank signal, it cranks up, and then Michael's got his job cut out for him trying to get that thing to stay running, because it's, you know, I don't know what I'm doing on the tune on the blower. So, you know, I just put all my simple data that I know about the injector size and the size of the engine and all the normal stuff. So it does crank up and run, but it won't stay running because I don't have enough experience with that. So I don't know. I'm not going to waste my time messing with it, because Michael can figure it out a lot quicker than I can, and it'll be done. It'll be done correctly if we let him do it. So this thing has been struggle street for me for the last 2 weeks at least. This thing has been just really, really giving me trouble, and just I'm glad to finally see this thing running, even if it does throw the belt. But like I say, just you know, I never would have imagined that a circ pump, the electric noise from it, would cause the Holly to interfere with the Holly where it wouldn't even turn on. So I got one of those a diode or something where it only lets voltage go one way. So I wired that in. I put it on a relay. So that's all set up and isolated from anything associated with the ECU. And I'm gonna throw the regular tires and wheels on the back at least, because, well, I'm probably gonna have to put them on the front because I think that tire's flat. But anyway, man, it has been struggle street, but I'm glad to finally get to hear it run. And you know, it seems to be good enough where we can take it down to Michael and let him dial everything in for me. And these bumper things are problematic, so I got those. I glued these on, epoxied them in. So I got that one set up so it'll dry while I'm working on it. And then my headers came in. These are actually from Walmart, believe it or not. I got some mufflers today at Summit this morning. These are Flowmaster FX. These are the same ones I have on the Caprice. These are similar to the Jones style muffler, which is, I guess, similar to the Magnaflow style muffler. So they're cheap. I think they're like $45 a piece, and they're not very long. I haven't looked at them, but I needed a short muffler since the CTSV has a short muffler. So, but anyway, these are the headers. They're from Walmart.com, And I was very impressed with them. I mean, they look great. Even have these little things on them, kind of like a muffler, and I guess it's 3-inch, and I don't know, that looks pretty small right there. Of course, we're not going to use that. So at least where it necks down, because that's a pretty good transition to a smaller tube, but it's got a little loop in it and everything. So I don't know, I didn't like the way the Speed Engineering headers looked, so I want to give these a try. Just say I bought a set of headers from Walmart, because coincidentally when we were teenagers we always joked how typical and common Chevrolet parts were, that you could go to Walmart and aisle 7 was a small block Chevrolet aisle. So I thought it would be humorous to say I have a set of headers on my CTSV from Walmart. I found my old fuel rail. This was the fuel rail that was on the Caprice, and these are actually the flex injectors that were on the Caprice. So I was getting all that set out and ready when I get the intake from my cousin. I got some more parts. I got some exhaust manifold gaskets. I got some plug wires, and I got the pigtail adapter to go to the map sensor. And thanks to the guy, somebody commented about this is a LS7 slave cylinder, and somebody commented to get the master cylinder as well, since they're problematic too. So I mean, while I'm going to have the car in a million pieces, I might as well change that too. So thank you for that suggestion, because I do not want to ruin a twin disc clutch because of something silly like that. So happy I found my fuel rail. Glad I still had it. And when I get my intake from my cousin, and then that throttle body, then I think I'll be ready to well, I got to get this thing done first. I got to get him going and out of here, get it dynoed, and I'm really excited about this thing. Michael actually had one on the dyno this week. It was I think it was a 5.3 with an LSA on it, and I think it made 500 horsepower and 600 foot-pounds of torque from a little 5.3 with the blower on it. So be curious to see what this thing makes, being a 6-liter, and you know, a lot better flowing set of heads and everything. So got a good transmission in it. Doug did a good job on that. He looked over the tune for me and made a couple of suggestions. So again, we'll get that incorporated into the tune, get it on the trailer, take it down to Michael, let him dyno it and have fun with it. And hopefully we're on the final stretch now with this thing. So like I say, it's just been, you know, sometimes it's like that, and it's just, you know, hopefully you got enough patience to push through it and figure everything out. And because troubleshooting is not my strong point. It's like my papa said, he knew I'd figure it out, he just didn't know when. So that's kind of how I am. So anyway, I thought that'd be interesting to know about the circ pump. So never wire a fan or a circ pump to anything associated with your ECU, because that electrical noise will interfere with it. And make sure your grounds are on, because I did notice that the voltage up here was not 12 volts. It was 8 or 9, which is, you know, now that I found it and know, you know, and that's indicative of a broken ground somewhere. And sure enough, that was the problem, is when you tried to crank it, it was taking the voltage and for stealing the voltage from everything else, because it couldn't complete the circuit. So anyway, hopefully you learned something from that, and it'll save you trouble in the future.